So we're back to our NBA draft, and we have how many teams that are not in the playoffs. That'll be 14 teams not in the playoffs, and they are given combinations of 4 numbers between 1 and 14. So they're given 4 numbers. So say we have 14 teams who are not in the playoffs, 7 from each conference, and they get combinations of 4-digit numbers or 4 numbers. The numbers themselves are between 1 and 14. For example, the LA Lakers might get 1, 2, 3, 4 as one of their combos, 1, 2, 3, 5 as another one, 14, 2, 1, 5 as another one. The Minnesota Timberwolves might get 6, 7, 4, 8. That's one combo. 6, 7, 4, 9. That's another. 6, 7, 4, 10. That's another. And then they have several more, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And then Miami Heat got one combination of 4 numbers, 7, 9, 11, 15. There's 2 things you need to know. The first is the total number of combinations that a team gets is based on the ranking for that team. So if in this case, the way I wrote it up, Miami Heat is the best of the worst because they only got one combination. The Minnesota Timberwolves are the worst of the worst, so they had the worst record for the entire year. And if you're a big Timberwolves fan, I'm sorry. So they have 1, 2, 3, plus several because they had the worst record for the season. All right. Then the other thing you need to figure out is how many possible 4-digit combinations of those 14 numbers are possible. And the order does not matter for these. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the same thing as 4, 3, 2, 1 or 1, 3, 4, 2. However you want to order it, it's a set of numbers and the order isn't important. So if order doesn't matter, then we want 14 choose 4. Order doesn't matter. And if we type that in on our calculator, we get 1001. That's how many possible combinations there are. And we're going to try to give them to each of those losing teams to give them to find their draft pick, and that's by lottery. So we're using lottery to find their draft order. And then we do one more thing, and then we're almost ready to start figuring out the draft order. The thing we do is we drop off this particular combination. Remember, order doesn't matter, so it could come in as 14, 13, 12, 11, or 11, 12, 13, 14, or it could come in as 12, 13, 11, 14. Same position, and we're not going to consider it. So we will not draw this. If it comes up, we get rid of it, and it actually has never come up yet. So if it ever happened to come up, we would get rid of it. But if we take off that one, remember we had a 1001, and we remove one of the combinations. That means we have 1000 possible combinations. That makes us really happy because 1000 is a nice, easy number to work with. And what we do is we said, okay, fine, the worst team is going to get 250 of those 4-digit or 4-number combinations. And that's right here, 250, the worst team. So this is the worst. And as you go down, this number 14, the ones who get 5 combinations, that's your best team. Of the 14 who are not going to the playoffs, so they're mediocre really. They're middle of the road team, just barely missed going to playoffs. They only get 5 combinations. The very worst team in the NBA gets 250 combinations, which gives them a 25% chance of receiving the number 1 pick. And that is because we're looking at 250 out of 1000. When we divide that out, it gets 0.25, which is equivalent to 25% chance. And you can certainly do that for each of these. So if we do 199 divided by the 1000, that is going to come to 19.9% chance. And you can keep doing that all the way down, and you'll notice that for any of these, it's going to be just divide that 43 by 1,000 and multiply by 100, which really means you divide by 10. That's what happens in the end. And so 43 combinations will give you 4.3% chance of getting that first draft pick. And that's what everybody wants, because they all want to get the best player that they think will work for their team coming out of college level. So that's what everybody's after, is the first pick. So here's the probabilities of getting each of those picks, of getting the first pick. And then here's what they do after that. Then they use a lottery machine like Lotto or whatever you're familiar with, Pick 5, whatever, where they spin all the ping pong balls and then they pop out 4 balls. So they pop out those 4 balls. All the balls are numbered 1 through 14. There's nothing higher, nothing lower. And it pops out 4 balls in a row. And then they read off those numbers, and whoever has that combination of numbers in any order gets first pick. So that's how they decide first pick. Well, they do it again for second pick, and they do it one more time for third pick. First and second and third picks. So that's important. Then they do second, and then they do third. And it's each team has more balls if they have a worse record. So really, the worst team has the best chance of getting draft pick number 1, but they aren't guaranteed it. Remember, they had, if we look back up, they had a 25% chance of getting that draft pick. So here we are, first, second, and third are picked that way. And then after that, this is important, after that, the teams are ordered by their season ranking, worst to best. So if you are the worst team and you did not get that first, second, or third draft pick, you are guaranteed the 4th pick. So you will have 4th, or you could get lucky and get first, second, or third. But guaranteed, the worst team is going to get at least 4th, maybe lower, but at least they'll get 4th pick. Why does the NBA use such a confusing system? To prevent teams from throwing their last few games of the season in order to guarantee first pick in the upcoming draft. That's why. And there's also some trading, which I have not researched as deeply as I have this whole lottery system. But the trading, I hear, if you have the first draft pick, you can trade that to another team for a couple of players that they already have, and you can take their draft pick. So there's all kinds of intrigue and changing of who's going to get the first draft pick. It's a big deal in the NBA. So the NBA came to this confusing system, but it's kind of neat because it does use a lot of probability and statistics to figure out like who's going to be in what position. And if you look online, it shows that they came up with this system talking to some statisticians, so that should not